3/5 plus 2/3. I want a common denominator. What common denominator would there be with 5 and 3? 15. So what are we going to need to multiply the 5 by? Times by 3. And if we times the bottom of this fraction, we need to times the top of this fraction so that our new fraction, 9/15, is equivalent to 3/5. What would we need to multiply this 3 by to get 15? 5. And if we multiply the top by 5 as well, we're going to get 10/15. And now our pieces are the same size. So what we basically did with our chocolate bar is our first chocolate bar was originally in 5 pieces, but we cut each of those 5 pieces up into 3, and now we had 15 pieces. And now we have 15 pieces with this one as well. So now, since our pieces are the same size, since we have a common denominator, we can add them together, and 9 plus 10 is 19. 19/15. Do we have more or less than a full chocolate bar? More. We have more than a full chocolate bar. This is what kind of fraction? Improper. Improper. We could write it as a mixed fraction. It would be 1 full chocolate bar, and then you'd still have 4 pieces left, so you would say 1 4/15. Excellent. Yes, we'll try a couple more. Here we go. Now what I want to show in this one is some of you might have chosen different ideas than somebody else, but as long as we're getting a common denominator and we reduce our fraction in the end, there's more than one way, and there's not, oh, I did it differently, so my way is wrong. That's not the case. But I want to know, with the 8 and the 6, what did someone do first? 8.
For the 8, I times 8 by 6.
Okay.
2 by
6. Okay. So then you got 48 here and 12 here, because that is equivalent to 2/8. And then the 1/6 you multiplied by 8 and by 8. And you got 8/48. And now that the pieces are the same, 12 pieces plus 8 pieces gives you 20 pieces out of 48. Can we reduce this fraction?
Yes.
What can you divide both the top and bottom by? 2. So if I divide them both by 2, I'm going to get 10/24. Can I reduce that fraction?
Yes.
Yes. I can divide them both by 2. And you get 5/12. Can I reduce that fraction? No. So that is our final answer. Since there's no more numbers that you can divide both 5 and 12 by, we're done. Did you do it a different way?
I think I know a way that would be faster.
You got a way that would be fast. All right, let's see that. How would you start? Sure. You want to write it? Do you want it recorded so it's on the video on YouTube? All right. Pick a color. I'm going to put a line here, and you can write on that side. Okay.
So I take down to 24 because they both eventually go to 24.
Good. They both go to 24.
And then that goes to
So what did you multiply the first ones by?
4 and, no wait, that would be 3 and 4.
Okay.
For 3 and 4.
Yeah. So what do the tops become?
They become
6.
and 4.
And then put a plus sign between them. And now when you add them together, you get?
10 over 24, and then they're reduced.
Yeah, we can scroll down here and see that it reduces to 5/12. And we get a smaller number to start with. Nice. Did anybody do it a different way? See, this is why I like this one. Because one thing that's nice about common denominators is you can always get a common denominator by multiplying by the opposite numbers. So you see that our numbers here are 8 and 6. You can always get a common denominator if you take the 8 and multiply it by 6, and the 6 and multiply it by 8. And that works out great, and that's a great way to start. However, sometimes, as in this example, there might be a common denominator that's smaller. So we notice that if we multiply the 8 by 3 and the 6 by 4, we get 24. And that's a smaller number. And when you pick a smaller common denominator, we had less to simplify because we got 10 over 24 already here, which we had to simplify this one first to get there to solve it all the way. Yes?
How do you know you have to times that like, by 6 and 4?
Well, this time what happened is he saw that if I times this by 3, and I times this by 3, that's how I get the 6. And if I times this by 4 and this by 4, that's how I'm going to get the 4 and the 24. And then I add from there. Okay, cool. 2 different ways. Do you want to see a third way?
Sure.
A third way is I'll start with the 2 over 8 plus 1 over 6. And before I even get a common denominator, I say to myself, hey, that fraction 2 over 8.
Oh,
What? What were you going to say? Sounded like you saw something. You can already half it. So we can change the 2 over 8 to 1 over 4. If we halved it to begin with, let's see if we can figure out what is the lowest common denominator between 4 and 6.
24.
It's not the lowest one. 24 is 1.
The lowest.
What is the lowest one? 4 and 6.
10.
Nope. 12. There it is. So if I multiply the 4 by 3 and the 1 by 3 and the 6 by 2 and this 1 by 2, I'm going to get equivalent fractions. This is going to be 3 over 12 plus 2 over 12. And now my denominators are the same. And my answer when I add the numerators, and it's already reduced. Whoa. That's amazing, eh?
What if you can't like half it?
Then you would have to start like we did in the other ones and add those to begin with. All 3 of these ways, if you did them on a test, would get full marks. It's not like I'm going to say, oh, if you don't do this way, you're going to get 0. No, all of them work. As long as you get a common denominator and reduce it in the end, you will get the same answer no matter what. Yes?
What if you did like the process right, but you got the wrong answer? Then how much marks would you get?
It depends. If your process is right and the mistake that you make is a simple mistake, like for example, 3 plus 2 is 4, that would be something that I would say, come on, I know you know that 3 plus 2 is 5. You just made a silly mistake. Probably some of the most common mistakes is 1 times 1 equals 2. That still gets students in grade 12, because what did they do instead of multiply? They added. And it's sometimes those things that are so easy that you don't even think about, and it's when you don't even think about it you make those silly mistakes. So if you make a silly mistake, I take off a half a mark, something really small. If you're making a mistake that's a big mistake, then I'm like, you don't understand what you just did, then that's usually 1 mark. And then you might not get the next marks that are after that, depending on where you make that big mistake. So that's sort of how I mark things, and we'll see that a little bit later when we do our first quiz.